let's go to the UK now, where Britain's Supreme Court has just ruled that the Sunak government's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda is unlawful. Under the plan, Britain would have sent tens of thousands of asylum seekers who had arrived on its shores without permission to the East African country in a bid to deter migrants from crossing the Channel from Europe in small boats into the UK, inspired, of course, by the Abbott government's policy of sending illegal asylum seekers to offshore detention centres. However, Prime Minister Sunak says he hasn't given up. He says he'll still press ahead with the plan regardless of the court's ruling. Joining me now to discuss this, writer, broadcast and Danube Institute fellow David Oldroyd-Bolt. David, welcome to the show. Great to catch up with you recently in London. It's a big issue here, obviously, border protection in Australia. I was always heartened you'd taken some lessons from us in the UK, but it appears to be scuttled by this decision. Sunak says, your Prime Minister says, he's going to press ahead anyway. What's likely to happen?
Well, the problem is for us, compared with you, we don't have Nauru. We don't have a country that, under the many, many UN treaties governing this, under the ECHR and under our own domestic legislation, is considered a safe country which does not fall foul of non-refoulement laws. That is to say, that it does not fall foul of the law saying that you must not send illegal immigrants to a country where they run the risk of being persecuted. What is likely to happen is that Mr Sunak will fail in any attempt he makes to push this through because it is quite simply illegal under international law. What should happen is that Mr Sunak, if he were a statesman of any stature and vision, would now lead a Europe-wide movement to rewrite the treaties that were perfectly reasonable in the light of 1945, when this was essentially a European problem, when national borders were respected and when we did not have international immigration of this sort, of migrants from all around the world trying to seek better lives for thousands of miles around them. The problem is that I don't think that he will do that. Though Denmark, Austria, Germany, Italy, many other European countries are having similar problems, I don't think that Mr Sunak will look at this in the round. Instead, he will try to push this through and he will fail.
I guess the problem you've got too is a lot of them are young men, Arab backgrounds, coming from the same sort of regions, and they're landing in your country. They're costing your taxpayers literally millions and millions of pounds. You had a strong Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. She has now been sacked this week for issues to do with the pro-Palestinian rallies and really taking the police to task. But in her departure, she puts out a 3-page statement and she says that the Prime Minister has manifestly failed to deliver on his promises to deal with this issue and radical gender theory as well, I might add. I think she's right, but how on earth are you going to get movement if you've got someone like David Cameron, who loves his Brexit, wanted to remain, now back in the senior ranks?
Well, it's a question that we're all asking, those of us who are actually Conservatives. How do you expect this to happen? I think Suella Braverman was ill-advised to call these marches hate marches because it simply stirs up all those who wish for her departure to activate for it even more than they were before, and it has succeeded. She was also ill-advised, I think, to write the piece that she did in the Times, although we now suspect that Mr Cameron, or sorry, I should say Lord Cameron, was asked if he wished to be Foreign Secretary and therefore for James Credlin to become Home Secretary before Ms Braverman wrote this piece in the Times. So I think there was a little bit of backroom dealing going on here. But the point remains that Mr Sunak is not capable, under existing legislation, national or international, of getting rid of the illegal immigrants who are coming to these shores. And let us not forget that they are passing through safe countries in order to arrive here. They are then being passed on because we are seen by the rest of Europe as being essentially an easy touch. And I do wonder if there is an aspect here of revenge for Brexit, particularly from the French. They were absolutely infuriated by the vote in 2016. They were themselves stymied in their attempts to make it a truly awful Brexit for us. And I think there is a sort of lover's revenge going on here. They have been left in the lurch. We have gone off to pastures used, seeking brighter sunlit uplands, and they're determined to punish us for it. And one of the ways they are doing this is by not fulfilling their statutory duty to keep the illegal immigrants who are coming into their country. Instead, they're passing them on to us.
David, just before we go, when I was there, I was shocked at the size of those crowds in central London, pro-Palestinian marches. You had 300,000 last weekend. I'm told organisers are saying that they're going to continue on unabated. Is there anything that can be done about them? Because they're virulently anti-Semitic, I have to say.
There is a great deal that could be done. For instance, last night when pro-Palestinian protesters, pro-Hamas protesters were mounting war memorials, the police could well have arrested them under public order offences. The Met Police put out a really weak, pathetic statement saying that there is no specific criminal offence about clambering on war memorials. No, there isn't, but there are many public order offences on the statute book which could have been used to arrest these people. The police have massive powers for policing protest, as we saw during the pandemic, for instance, when they used them against anti-lockdown campaigners, which they did not use against BLM campaigners, for instance, as they used against the people who gathered in vigil on Clapham Common after the murder by a Metropolitan policeman of Sarah Everard. They used those powers that they have when they did not use them against Extinction Rebellion. This seems to me to be a very clear illustration of what Ms Braverman said about two-tier policing. It is something that all Londoners and now all Britons are seeing for themselves. The Metropolitan Police needs to be brought into hand, and part of the responsibility of the Home Secretary is to do that. So I hope that Mr Cleverly, in his first week in office, will begin to take a grasp where perhaps his predecessor, because of her perceived antipathy to the police, was unable to do so.
All right, David, great to catch up with you live on camera and give us a sense of everything that's going on. That was terrific. David Oldroyd-Bolt there live from London.